And we are live. I'm here with Elvis sorry. He made the Forbes 30 under 30 2019 energy list. He's a PhD student in the engineering school between the mechanical engineering and chemical engineering. I hope I got that right. I'm really excited because I was a chemical engineering graduate, 2016. And we're going to dig right in. And Elvis, if you want to start and talk about your research and how that led to you getting on the Forbes list, we can jump and start there.
Sure. Thanks, Yuri, for the nice introduction. So my name is Elvis Hao. I'm a third-year PhD student in mechanical engineering, but I also work a lot in Alumni, which is chemical engineering building. And what led me to the Forbes 30 under 30 list in energy is because of my project on a technology called Highlight. And Highlight is actually a technology, a chemical reactor to convert CO2 emissions into clean fuels. And besides that, I also work a lot with the human ecology department to develop another technology called fever phone. That's to use smartphone technology to help people diagnose different febrile illness, which is very different from the project I'm working on with Highlight, but it's also pretty cool.
Amazing. And so as a chemical engineer, I would love to geek out and get into the nitty gritty of the science behind it. But I'd love for you to share with the viewers how this could distill into our day-to-day lives. So how will your research be applied in the future?
Sure. So as probably everyone knows, right now, every year we're producing so much CO2 emissions, which drive climate change. I know some people don't believe it, but
I'm a believer, don't worry.
Nobody doubts this. And we should understand that power plants, one of the major sources for CO2 emissions. So in nature, we already have a process called photosynthesis. So in that process, the plants will use CO2, water, and under sunlight, they convert them into the food and help them to grow. So as scientists and engineers, we are trying to mimic the process, which is called artificial photosynthesis. Instead of doing this in plants, we want to do this in the power plants and factories and just convert their CO2 emissions into something useful. And in my research, I'm converting them into two things. One is called syngas, or the other one is called methanol. Both of these are already chemicals and are useful to power our daily lives.
Amazing. And so coming up with the idea or developing your research thesis is entrepreneurial in itself. Can you kind of tie in specifically for our viewers who are pursuing PhD, how can they be entrepreneurial in their research endeavors? And then also maybe some tips on how they can transition their research into a sustainable business model.
Sure, that's a pretty good question. So as a PhD student, especially in engineering, we just spend all the time in the lab, basically most of the time in the lab. But besides doing that, I think it's also pretty cool if we can convert what we are doing in the lab into some real business to make some real world difference. And from my personal experience, I actually have a very supportive advisor. And his name is Professor David Erickson. He's right now Associate Dean of Engineering. He's also the co-founders of 3 companies. So in my lab, it's a little bit different from other, maybe some other labs at Cornell. We actually value a lot on entrepreneurship side. And especially right now, I think since 2 years ago, my advisor studied a program in the engineering school, which is called Entrepreneurship Minor for PhD students. So in addition to getting a PhD degree in engineering, which is pretty cool, we also get a minor entrepreneurship. And for that, we learn a lot of entrepreneurship, the finance, statistics, and I think that's pretty useful because right now the academic field is so competitive, and very likely you couldn't find a job, faculty job immediately after your PhD, and even after several years postdoc is also not that easy. So by considering entrepreneurship inside, that could be another career path.
Amazing. And so similar to developing a business where you're trying to like solve a problem, identify an industry or a customer to focus on finding a solution for, you're kind of doing that when you're developing your thesis. So what was the hardest part about bringing, your engineering project or product to the market?
Sure.
And this question actually came from Anna Walza, class of 2022.
Sure. Thank you, Anna's question. So I think the hardest part is to scale up the research. So in most of the research in literature, people are reporting pretty high yield of some product, but if you look at their reactor or their reacting tubes, this very tiny. So how, if we want to convert that to make a real world difference, you have to scale up the technology.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult in some sense. But in my project, because my advisor he's also has some entrepreneurship mind. So at the beginning of the project, we designed a reactor in the sense of this can be scaled up. So right now we are working with 0.1 liter reactor. We also built a 1.1 liter reactor, and in the future, our plan is to scale up this to 30 liter reactor, which can have them real world industry applications. And so scale up is one of the most difficult things, and also the science part, how to be the best in the field. That's also very competitive because so many people are doing this. So we need to combine what the best science and the best engineering and the best entrepreneurship all together to make a real world difference.
Interesting. No, it's definitely true. I think scaling is an issue across industry, across research that everyone struggles with. I think scale up is a research question in itself, right? We'd like to understand more too. How has your being on the Forbes list impacted your life, your research, your prospects in regards to maybe solving some of the hard issues that you're encountering, or just personally?
Sure. So being featured on a Forbes list is a good thing, but is not that important actually. So I think what is most important is what you do and what kind of difference you can make in the real world. So the list is just a list. You have, so in addition to the Forbes 30 on 30 list, they have the MIT's technological review 35 on 35. They also have 40 on 40. That is, they have so many lists. But the important thing is to get something working, make it do some good to the real world. Yeah.
Exactly. I think I'm aligned with you on that. Being able to make your work speak for itself, an accomplishment is great, but figuring out what to do after that to continue to have impact is what's really important. So what influences your work? So like, is this something that you were passionate about since a young age? How did you kind of get into this focus area?
Sure. So I think I studied from, I think 10, 15 years ago when I was a middle school student. Back then I was still in China in a middle school in a small town. I remember during one of the chemistry classes, my teacher was teaching a concept, not for the CO2 conversion, but for how to, so they were saying scientists were using sunlight to convert water into hydrogen and oxygen. And hydrogen can be used as a fuel, and oxygen can, people can breathe oxygen, which is a pretty cool technology. And inspired by that, I think if I can do something to the new energy field, that would be a pretty cool thing. So after that, I did undergrad in China. I pursued my undergrad in energy department and get a dual bachelor degree. And after my master's, I decided probably I should get outside of China to try something else. And I understand materials is very important to energy field. So I did a master's at McGill University in Montreal, and also spent 1 year in MIT in the nuclear engineering department. And after that, I get opportunity to work with Professor Erickson and Cornell. And in this lab, we have very different fields in the same lab, which is pretty interesting. So like in the morning, I can be working in the energy lab doing some CO2 conversion work, and in the afternoon I will go back to the human ecology lab, probably do something working with the human blood to test my assay and to do some smartphone technology. So I think Cornell is a very good place to make things possible, and without the amazing collaborators here in Cornell, I wouldn't have the chance to work on this amazing project. So I studied when I was young, and I have been fortunate to have the opportunity to pursue my dream since I was a kid.
Amazing. And I think one thing that we all know and are continuously finding out about innovation is being able to, get inspiration by working cross-functionally, collaborating with different ideas and different industries. And so it's really cool that you get to do that at Cornell. It's something that I was able to do too, and it helped to inform some of my passions today. So that's really awesome. I'm interested because we did talk about this. I don't know if we were live or it was before we went live, to understand your thoughts on the future of the renewable fuel industry, even in this, I guess, climate situation.
I mean, the prospect for so I don't have a very, to be honest, I don't have very positive prospect for the renewable energy field in the US. But considering the current administration, who is not a climate change believer, but I think still overall, the world, some like China, we are investing a lot of money in renewable energy research. So I think we have to make the politicians, so that the people in academia have to stand up to talk to the people who make the decisions. So right now in the renewable energy field, so one of the most important is the funding has been cut. That's a very bad situation for the people, the scientists in the US. But if they don't find a lot of funding here, probably they can look for something else, maybe go to China. I encourage people to go to China to pursue the energy field.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be like optimistic. There are so many people domestically, and like a lot of like Cornell as a research university, and overall who are really dedicated to cleaner technologies, cleaner energy processes. And I think it's something that majority of people are really interested in regards to our future. So I guess you mentioned that you're working on a plethora of different research projects. I'd like to understand what's next for you in that regard.
So I think the other completely different project is right now my side project. I still want to make the CO2 conversion project as my thesis project. And after this, I'd like to do something related to how to produce ammonia. That's a different story, but considering right now in the world, the ammonia synthesis process actually produce around 2% of the CO2 emissions in the whole world, which is a big elephant in the room. Right. So in addition to converting CO2, we need to think about other ways to have a better ammonia production while produce less CO2. Right. So there are a lot of different other opportunities out there as well.
Amazing. So we are kind of approaching the end of our interview, but I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite Cornell eatery?
Cornell what?
Restaurant.
Oh.
Or dining hall.
Probably as a PhD student, we don't spend a lot of time eating. Oh. So I just eat some random food that I cook.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, Olin Hall can't be your favorite building, but even though I spent a lot of time in it, I have a special place in my heart for it, but that's amazing. Maybe we'll have a dining place in there soon, unless there is one. But it was really, really amazing to connect with you, Elvis. And I think that I've enjoyed, and I'm sure our viewers have enjoyed, really hearing your perspective on your research on the renewable energy field and how, academics can participate and be entrepreneurs as well as educators and researchers. So this has been amazing. It was really great to connect with you. And we're going to hop on to our next interview.
Sure. Nice talking to you as well.